Well, thank you, Mireia, and welcome everybody. We will start now. We are 37 people and more coming as we arrive. And our colleagues from MedCities and the Ministry of Montenegro will give you the few words to commence this workshop. So thank you, Mireia.
Okay, we can start. Thank you very much to all for being with us today. This is the second training or capacity building event that is being organized by the partners and in cooperation with our ministry in the framework of this project. So we are talking about marine litter and marine protected areas in Montenegro. This is of particular interest for us because on 22 April this year, the government of Montenegro proclaimed the first marine protected area in Montenegro, Nature Park Platamuni. It was an interesting event also because it happened on the Earth Day, so somehow we try to celebrate this day also by proclaiming officially the first MPA in Montenegro. We are happy that we were able to organize this workshop today, also because yesterday we had the final conference of the project, one of the most important projects in the last 3 years, supporting the implementation of the Barcelona Convention, of the introduction of the ecosystem approach and integrated monitoring and assessment program of Barcelona Convention, but not only, also of maritime spatial planning. The project, the GEF Adriatic Project, the full name of the project is the implementation of the ecosystem approach in the Adriatic Sea through marine spatial planning. It was a sub-regional project implemented in Albania and Montenegro. So yesterday in Herzegovina, we had the chance to present the results of the projects and agree on the next steps. I mean, first on the next projects to be implemented, but also how the outcomes and results of this project will be integrated and used as much as possible in the national activities and priorities in the future. This project is very interrelated with the Mediterranean Biodiversity Community Project, especially with this second phase on marine spatial planning, because we know that marine protected areas are a very important component of marine spatial plans. And this methodology that was used and that will be a bit better explained later on by Marina from PAPRAC, as I said, was based on the ecosystem approach, meaning that in the planning of our territorial waters, we use or we give importance to both environmental component, to the environment protection, but also, of course, to the economic and development priorities of the country. So we are very happy. Initially, we planned to organize the side event of this conference. This training or this workshop of today. Our initial plan was to organize it as a side event of the conference, but it was a bit complicated also because of the current COVID measures and many representatives of the partner institutions and other participants and speakers who were not able to join us face to face. So somehow we still managed to organize this workshop today, just a day after the conference, to still ensure some kind of connection and interlinkages between the two projects. So thanks again, everyone. And today we will have 2 sessions. The first one will be focused on marine litter monitoring and assessment, while the second one on combating marine litter in MPAs from observations and knowledge to concrete actions. We have a number of speakers and also participants from Montenegro and other Mediterranean countries. And I would like to say that we initially supported I apologize, that we initially supported the theme of this training and workshop, also because of one of the results of the GEF Adriatic Project, which showed that that marine litter, that Montenegro is very polluted by marine litter. We have this map that will be shown by Marina later, that really the situation is not good. So taking into account all these different aspects, first MPA in Montenegro, this result and this information on how marine litter is distributed in territorial waters of Montenegro, of course with the concentration in coastal waters. Then this workshop and training of today is very useful for future for stakeholders all over the Mediterranean, especially from Montenegro, on maybe how to combat, prevent, and monitor adequately marine litter in MPAs. So this is all from my side for now. Thank you very much, and I remain at your disposal for any question or additional information. Our first presentation of today, maybe just to mention also that we will have a coffee break at 10:45, when also during this coffee break, which will be until 10:55, we will also have a bio litter tour. So our first presenter in the first session, which I will facilitate today, is by Milica Mandic, Institute of Marine Biology of Montenegro, monitoring marine litter in Montenegro, results and findings from the DeFishGear project. I need to say that Milica is one of our leading experts in Montenegro on marine litter, participating in many projects from the very beginning, starting from the DeFishGear and after. We still have not established monitoring of marine litter as part of official monitoring, I mean, until now in Montenegro, although through the GEF Adriatic Project, the integrated monitoring program includes, of course, the ecological objectives and related indicators, which are on marine litter. So we hope that from next year, it will be part of our regular annual national monitoring program. So it is very important, and we are glad that Milica is today with us. After Milica, we will have Marina Markovic from Paprag, who will present findings and results of the GEF Adriatic Project related to marine litter. After Marina, Sonsoles, representing one of the project partners, leading partner, enhancing knowledge of marine litter in Mediterranean MPAs. So the contribution of this project work on marine litter. And the last presentation, of course, will be from Thomais, from MIO-ECSDE. Of course, we all know her, one of the famous scientists from Mediterranean, with a lot of information and a lot of contribution on marine monitoring, prevention, management, contributing to all the different conventions and also EU framework on marine litter. So let's start. Milica, you have the floor. Thank you very much. Is Milica with us?
Yeah, I saw her.
Maybe she...
Milica, you have to activate your audio and camera if possible.
She will come in a minute.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Vesna. Okay, let's wait. Let's wait for another minute, maybe until Milica is with us. Maybe I can also inform you, since we are talking about MPAs, and also why it is very important for us this year to talk about it, is that we are in the process also of proclamation until the end of this year, hopefully, of additional 2 MPAs. So we hope that by end of December this year, we will fulfill the goal to have the MPAs proclaimed, 3 MPAs proclaimed in Montenegro. And of course, in parallel, we are also in the process of starting the preparation of the management plans, monitoring programs. So this meeting of today is of really relevance and importance for all these national processes that are ongoing.
Can you see it?
Yes, perfectly. Thank you.
Okay. So good morning, everyone. My name is Milica Mandic, and I'm working at the University of Montenegro, Institute of Marine Biology. I want to thank you for inviting me as a speaker to this webinar. It's very nice to see some familiar faces, especially my dear Tommy from our famous DeFishGear project. I hope we will cooperate in the near future on some similar topics. So today I will present you some results and findings from the projects that were realized in Montenegro related to marine litter. Although we've done really a lot of different projects and monitoring activities in Montenegro, I just extracted some most important due to the limited time that we have today in this presentation, but I hope it will be very good for the project and especially for the management of the future and present marine protected areas. So the most important projects that were realized in Montenegro related to marine litter are DeFishGear projects. First one, most important one for not only Montenegro, but all Adriatic Sea. When we get the first results related to the marine litter pollution in Adriatic and Ionian region. Then MEDIT, Mediterranean International Trout Survey, as the most important survey of the fishery resources in the Mediterranean. From which we get very good data related to marine litter, but what is most important that we are all using harmonized protocols so we can compare our data on the Mediterranean level. IPA Welcome project that just finished 2 months ago related to the pollution of beaches with the marine litter and protection of sandy dunes from the protection of sandy dunes. UNEP Adapted Beach pilot project that was realized in cooperation with the Public Enterprise for Coastal Zone Management of Montenegro, and of course, National Monitoring Program of Fishery Resources in Montenegro. I will present you some main findings of the beach litter pollution and the sea floor pollution with marine litter in Montenegro. From DeFishGear project, we get the results, and we were monitoring 2 beaches, one in the area of Boka Kotorska Bay and another in the open part of Montenegrin coast, in order to compare the pollution in 2 different areas. And the results that we get were that the average number of items per square meter is 374 items per 100 meters of stretch, and the most abundant type of marine litter was plastic. During the UNEP MAP Adapt the Beach project, we were working during 1 year, 3 seasons, and we were monitoring the same beach in the area of Boka Kotarska Bay and the beach in the open part of Montenegrin coast. Both beaches have a vicinity of riverine inputs, and the results were a little bit different. In the area of Boka Kotarska Bay, the amount of total litter pollution was lower compared to the open part of Montenegrin coast, and the average was about 400 items per 100 meters of beach stretch. During the Welcome project that was realized during 2018 and 19 and 2020, we monitored 6 beaches. And the results are presented in this table. I won't go in detail through the results. You can see it just to save our time. And the situation was a little bit better compared to the results that we get from DeFishGear and the UNEP MAP Adapt the Beach project. When we summarize all data that we get through different projects from also some national monitoring programs of the beaches, the average abundance of beach litter in Montenegro is 492 litter items per 100 meter stretch of beaches, with plastic or artificial polymer material as the most abundant type of marine litter on beaches that contributed between 62 to 90% in all monitored beaches. Those are just some results, comparative data of beach litter pollution in different parts of the Adriatic Sea. On the first column, those are data from the DeFishGear project, and another just results that they found from the other project that was also led by the Thomais. Seafloor litter pollution, as I said, was monitored during the Medic surveys and also surveys of national monitoring programs of fishery resources in Montenegro. And in the open part of Montenegrin coast, during the Medic surveys, we are monitoring every year 10 positions at the open part of the Montenegrin coast up to 800 meters of depth. And the total density of litter ranged from 10 to 1,400 items per square meter, which is a very big and very intensive pollution of seafloor litter, with an average value of 290 items per square kilometer. Most abundant type of material were plastics and rubber. Those are maps that were produced for the purposes of the GEF Adriatic Project that just finished. We have yesterday that final conference. And you can see the spatial distribution of plastics and rubber in Montenegro for 3 years, 2014, 15, and 2016. So you can see the hotspots of the pollution of the seafloor litter in Montenegro. Those are the same maps, but for the area of Boka Kotarska Bay, with the difference that we are monitoring only the weight of the marine litter for the area of Boka Kotarska Bay, but we continue with the monitoring activities just during the summer period. Those are just some photos from the seafloor litter from the area of Boka Kotarska Bay that were collected during the surveys. And this is the map that was also produced in the framework of the GEF Adriatic Project, where we put all our data together related to seafloor litter pollution. I just put it the overall areas of the MPA Platamon and future MPA Katičin and Stari Ulcin, so you can see the pressures of marine litter on the different parts of the Montenegrin coast. So what we can see is that in the future marine protected area Katič, we really need some intensive measures related to the removal of the seafloor litter, but not only in that area of Boka Kotarska Bay is also under the great pressure of marine litter, especially of the rubber and the glass and ceramics in the area of Boka Kotarska Bay. This is the total amount of litter for all litter categories in Montenegro. This is just a table with different results from different projects related to the beach litter, floating litter, seafloor litter by scuba diving and by bottom trawl surveys. Those are data extracted from the initial assessment of the state of the marine ecosystem in Montenegro related to the marine litter pollution. You can see the results. What most of you know is that on the European level, we have defined threshold values just for the beach litter. It's 20 litter items per 100-meter beach length. And IMAP, for the IMAP, the proposed threshold values are 59 items per 100-meter stretch. And you can see that with the 492 litter items as an average value for several years of monitoring activities, we are much above the threshold values. So that say us that we need to introduce some strict measures as soon as possible in order to preserve the state of marine ecosystem, at least on this level, or to improve it with the different activities of marine litter removal. What is important also to note is that from the different papers that were published in recent years, the amount of plastic that reached the sea from Montenegro is very big on the year. That we have 8.7 kilos of plastic leakage per capita annually in Montenegro. This is mostly a consequence of the mismanaged waste. So there is a lot of different inputs of marine litter. So those numbers are very high, and I hope that those numbers will be changed very soon due to the changing in the waste management laws and waste management measures in Montenegro. Those are just some proposed management measures in Montenegro related to the marine litter pollution. We already have a national action plan for the implementation of LBS protocol, and that plan is very well written. There are all measures and activities that needs to be followed and done with a time frame. They are very strict and they are harmonized with the international conventions and regulations. But what we need is just some additional time to introduce all those measures and activities that need to be done in Montenegro. Also, what is important to note is that we are realizing, the Ministry of Ecology is realizing IPA project support to the implementation and monitoring of water management in Montenegro. And last year we done one important part of the monitoring program of marine litter in Montenegro in different marine compartments. And I hope that this monitoring program will be continued during the next year, so we can collect additional data and put it all together in the database that was already prepared for the initial assessment of the marine ecosystem in Montenegro. So those are some additional proposed management measures, and I know that ministry is, I think, serious in the implementation of the new measures, and we have a new law of the protection of marine environment, which harmonized marine strategy framework directive activities. So I think that from the next year we will be and we are able to introduce all activities that we need in order, firstly, to preserve our protected areas, and then to solve the hotspots problem of marine litter in Montenegro. Thank you. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer.
Thank you very much, Milica, for your presentation. As always, very informative and very comprehensive and concise. You confirmed once again, what is the situation in Montenegro on the basis of the data that were collected in the previous years. And also from my side, it is really one of our major tasks to really have the national monitoring extended, of course, to all the indicators under ecosystem approach and IMAP, but especially related to marine litter. Maybe just before going to the next presentation, maybe I can ask if there is any question for Milica now, and then maybe we can proceed.
May I ask something?
Of course.
Yeah. So it's strange, I can ask Milica also in institute, but anyway, you show one map from GEF Adriatic showing 3 future MPAs. And is it, I missed information, yes, that one. Is it floating litter all together, or what is this?
Just sea floor litter.
Sea floor?
Sea floor litter, yes.
Okay, then of course you should add some yellow color in Stari-Ulci area, because probably you had information from before, but now the new project GEF MPA that we were doing last year showed that in Valdanos, in Stari-Ulci area, there is really a lot of marine litter. So it's something that should be considered for the future, of course.
Yes, yes, we put here just data from seafloor litter from monitoring of fishery resources from Mandic surveys. We have a lot of data from the shallower areas. Vesna was working a lot, I think on 47 sites in the Montenegrin coast several years ago. And we are working also in the area of Boka Kotarska Bay, analysis of seafloor litter by scuba diving. But for this kind of map, we couldn't present those shallower parts due to the interpolation of data. You cannot see it very well when you put it on general map of Montenegro. But yes, there are a lot of very yellow parts also in the parts which are now purple. So that is something that can be done for some separate areas. We can do it just for the MPA, for example. Thank you, Vesna.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, then I suggest that we proceed. We will have also the questions and answers session, but I just wanted to see if there are some direct questions for Milica now. So let's proceed to the second presentation of Marina Markovic from UNEP Prague. Marine litter in Montenegro, results and findings from the GEF Adriatic project related to marine litter. So yeah, we have had a discussion yesterday, not of course only about marine litter, but of the project in general. So once again, we are glad to have this, cooperation and synergies between these two projects showing even today. So Marina, please, you have the floor to share the presentation.
Hello, hi, thanks a lot. So I just started sharing my screen. I don't know if you can see it now.
Yes, we can.
Yes. Okay, good. Let me just start it. Just a second. So many settings. Okay, I hope now is good. You can see my first slide, right?
Yes.
Okay, great, perfect. So first, thanks a lot for inviting me for this workshop today. Thank you, Ivana, really for the super kind words in the opening and for appreciating the project results. Ministry of Ecology is really amazing partner, and not just in the GEF Adriatic project that I will just briefly show today, but really in all the initiatives and efforts that really relate to environment, in particular marine environment. So I don't feel quite comfortable speaking after Milica, that is really the expert for marine litter. And also she was the key expert dealing with marine litter in the GEF Adriatic project. But still, very quickly, very briefly, I will just give you the overall overview of the project and just some particular links to marine litter. So the project started with the, let's say, idea, maybe utopistic idea, to start opening the door, working and contributing to all the other projects that are really focusing on working for the better future of marine resources in the Adriatic. The project itself is focused on 2 countries, so not the overall Adriatic, but mainly in Albania and Montenegro. Very, very quickly, the project it finishes tomorrow. So we are in the administrative process of finalizing everything. But the core implementation started in 2018. It's funded by the Global Environment Facility, GEF, and with the overall budget of 1.8 million. The main implementing organizations are UNEP MAP. Oh, just a second. Sorry, just 1 second. So sorry, these are the disturbances. I forgot to put my phone off, sorry. Yes, so the UNEP MAP coordinating unit together with SPARAC and PAPRAC as regional centers, and of course the national organizations in Montenegro. This is the Ministry of Ecology, Spatial Planning and Urbanism. So the overall concept of the project is very much focused on different types of integration, considering all kinds of integrations, interactions between ecosystems, and of course humans being part of it. The 2 main components of the project are the ecosystem approach from one side and also marine spatial planning. But the idea is not to look at these 2 processes in parallel, but to try to find the methodologies and the approaches and tests, whatever is possible, to merge the 2. So from this ecosystem approach, we had several specific components, such as this, let's say, monitoring and, let's say, data collection part. Apologies, since we are working in Albania and Montenegro, this is the remaining of some old presentations. So I have the map, monitoring map for Albania, but what we did is the stations, the locations for monitoring of all the environmental components in Montenegro, of course, including the marine litter. If there would be an interest, I can show you a specific maps showing locations for marine litter. They are on several beaches in Montenegro, but also on the positions of the Medit survey as well. What we did also is based on this monitoring program, marine surveys, of course, also one being done in Montenegro. And something we are quite actually happy about is we prepared a database, national database for storing all the collected data. This database also enables really visual and time, let's say, trend assessment, actually, sorry. And also this database enables reporting, first to UNEP MAP, because this was the obligation of our project and our system, but also it will also help the reporting to EEA as well. Here I just put an extract on number of inputs that we have so far recordings regarding the marine litter on seafloor and also on beach litter. So these are only some of the information we have, also those that were presented by Milica, but of course with this kind of database enables quite an easy upload of all the future monitored data in the database. Of course, another part of it is the assessment. So the assessment, meaning toward the good environmental status assessment. For the overall assessment in Montenegro, we couldn't, let's say, for a number of items, there was not enough data to really be able to assess. This includes also the marine litter, but for beaches, it could be concluded that the good environmental status is not yet achieved. For other elements in the marine litter in the water column and on the seafloor, since there are no regionally accepted thresholds, we could not assess it, but we could, and Milica, please correct me if I'm wrong, let's say the trend so far is not so great. So even though it's not yet, let's say, confirmed, it could easily be to not good status at the moment. Here are just some of the data that we have, but I will not repeat them in terms of quantity of marine litter that is envisaged, and Milica was also telling a lot about these figures. Also, based on a number of different information, we provided a cumulative how to say, visual presentation on the existing marine litter. So this is the famous, or not the famous, but the same map that Milica showed. So I can tell you that also to address what Vesna was saying, unfortunately, it doesn't mean that only the dark, let's say, yellow areas are only maybe problematic ones. Also, this little bit lighter towards green, they also are not showing the great status. But in any case, so these kind of information were also integrated with other information, the other pressures like eutrophication and contaminants. So this is the map we have with the darker blue areas, almost orange ones, showing the areas with the highest, let's say, cumulative pressures existing at the moment in Montenegro. And this kind of information were also inputs to come up with some proposals for the Marine Spatial Plan. Also, but I should say that the Marine Spatial Plan that we developed, or the concept that we developed as part of the project, is the one very much focusing on the narrow coastal area, because the number of pressures and number of uses in the narrow area is the highest. So some of the proposals we have are those that are requiring, let's say, some kind of rehabilitation measures. However, I should say that in terms of litter, we only have some kind of proposals on maybe improving some of the landfill sites, but also in terms of marine litter, there are only some of the proposals in terms of, let's say, awareness raising and doing some of the activities for marine litter prevention, but also collection of the litter existing in the seafloor, in line with the plan that Milica was also telling to you. So in short, through implementation of different activities, from identification of sites where monitoring should be done to actual implementation of this monitoring in terms of, let's say, doing some surveys, assessing and spatially presenting information that are used for Marine Spatial Plan, we can say we managed to integrate the two concepts together, the ecosystem approach and the Marine Spatial Plan, planning approach for the overall, let's say, overall goal of achieving the good environmental status. Also based on these all these activities and assessments, I could say that one activity at least was organized as part of the project in terms of collecting some of the big marine litter in Boka Kotorska Bay, but also ministry organized very recently as part of the celebration of 30 years of ecological state, really a comprehensive marine litter extraction activity now in June. It was quite great and quite successful. So in short, these are some of the key elements of the GEF Adriatic project. Thanks a lot. And of course, I'm here if you have some additional questions.
Thank you very much, Marina, for your presentation. Thanks a lot. Let's see if there are some questions for you now before we proceed with the next presentation. Maybe just to say that I'm also glad that we are able to present all these results today, also with our partners in the framework of the biodiversity community project. I mean, not only for the results of the GEF Adriatic, but also everything that Milica presented, all the data and the analysis, and maybe some consideration regarding where we stand against the achievement of the good environmental status for marine litter. Yes, as Mireia wrote in the chat, it is also possible to make questions to the speaker in the chat box. We will check it regularly. Okay, if there is no any question now, we will have the opportunity to discuss a bit more during a dedicated session to questions and answers. So let's proceed with the presentation of Sonsoles from the project partner, leading partner on the enhancing knowledge on marine litter in Mediterranean MPAs, the contribution of the Mediterranean biodiversity protection community work on marine litter. Sonsoles, you have the floor. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. I will ask Mireia to share the presentation with us today. I'm really pleased to be here and to hear that all the latest data on pollution and marine litter for Montenegro and the Adriatic are being updated. The thing is, it's a wonderful news that we have now the tools and the audience and the networks in place to address these results, these challenges that we have for pollution in the region, and try to take measures to at the wider level. So very briefly, for those of you that do not know us, we are partners in this Mediterranean Biodiversity Protection Community Project, which is at the same time a group of other projects co-funded by Interreg Mediterranean, amongst which several of them are addressing marine litter as a main topic. We've heard about several initiatives happening at the national level. Within our community, we've had been building on the achievements of the work of projects like Act for Litter, which are already finalized. For Metsi litter also, there was a study monitoring protocols on floating litter at different levels and microplastics and involvement. And then finally, we have Plastic Busters MPAs, which are a running project at the moment and has helped us organize the workshop today. Our colleague Tommy, as mentioned earlier, is partner and has been partner in previous ones, and she will be assisting and showing the woodwork that's been implemented. some of the projects in this, let's say, scenario, these small biodiversity protection universe, are addressing also marine litter and pollution related aspects, as per, for instance, EcoSustain was monitoring water quality, and UNEP is also looking at how to involve different types of stakeholders in making arrangements for a more effective management of wetlands and marine protected areas, with the engagement of everybody. So you will see in the agenda that we've had the research world involved. So we have this data concerning marine litter and pollution. We also have our public authorities who can help us legislate and take measures also to building on these scientific results, take good measures. And then on session 2 also we will be looking at how the civil society, the NGOs and other types of stakeholders can also contribute to this fight against the marine litter. Next slide, please. So here is just briefly for you to understand the complexity of the different projects and initiatives that are taking place under the community. Marine litter and pollution being one of the key topics, but we're also, as mentioned in the previous presentation, looking at an ecosystem-based management and the cumulative impact effects that the different components of our reality have on us. To do this, we organized the work in 3 different working groups. Marine litter is currently addressed under working group 1, which is the little orange icon that you can see on top of the screen. But we also have climate change, we have transboundary governance in this working group 1. We also have the use of co-management and participatory approaches on small-scale fisheries under working group 2. And then we also have land sea interactions and a focus on wetlands under working group 3. The idea of this community, as mentioned earlier, is just to try and bring together all the different stakeholders, let's say, to play the role of a bridge and a clearinghouse between policymakers, scientists, and management authorities, with the assistance of the civil society in general, to make better informed decisions and provoke some transformative behaviors in daily life, so we can have a positive impact. Again, ecosystem-based approach is a key word also in our community. We understand that the Mediterranean is unique, is very threatened, and we're many and varied in this landscape. So we try to foster both local action, but a Mediterranean and regional approach to what we do. So in the marine litter field, we promote the standardized approaches to monitoring, but also transfer of best practices among the different countries and the different regions, the different marine protected areas, and all shores in the Mediterranean. Thank you. Next slide, please. Just for you to know who we are, how many we are at the moment, without including the latest 2 new projects that have been, let's say, passed on under this whole by the InterRegNet program. We're currently 342 partners from 239 institutions, meaning some institutions participate in more than one project. And we have a presence in 16 Mediterranean projects, let's say in 24 different countries. Amongst these partners, we have marine protected areas, and study sites. So we have a total of 75 pilot sites, of which 63 are protected areas in the Mediterranean, as you can see in the map. Next slide, please. The main activities that we've been organizing, fostering and addressing concerning marine litter have been, let's say, distributed in different types of actions. We've tried to compile all the knowledge that has been produced by our community of projects. And by the way, may I say that this community is not a closed community. It's open and welcomes cooperation with other projects, and this is why we want to hear and liaise and network with all of you that are here today. So we try to compile this knowledge and build together kind of a more regional overview on what's going on and which are the best practices and lessons learned that we could transfer to others that might not know about it. So we do that through our MedBioliter database on science, let's say, evidence on the different types of interactions that happen between marine biodiversity and litter. There are different types of impacts, but I will not extend on this as you will have the opportunity to have a little Mediterranean tour through the database over the coffee break if you're interested. This database is updated twice a year and is interactive, so and open to everybody. On the data side as well, and on the learning from others, we also organize workshops and events to create a debate and learn from each other to see what's happening at the policy level, but also at management level and other awareness raising actions that are going on. So just to mention some, we organized on the 4th of June a workshop under the European Union Green Week that had zero pollution as a topic for this year. And we brought together, again, representatives from the science world, from the policy world, and also from the NGO world, and more citizen-led actions to see which role each of us can play in addressing this challenge that we have with marine litter and pollution these days. There'll be a report with a certain number of recommendations to be published, so you can also learn from actions happening at other levels. In addition to this, as I say, we think regional, but we also act local, and we want to be there where things are happening. So this is why also with our Montenegro partners, we're organizing this capacity building workshop to help improve or make recommendations for marine protected area management in the newly designated areas, and see how they can benefit from the work of ongoing projects around us. These were events, but we also try to make the main results of our projects in the community available in the long term, and somehow to have a life of their own for future marine protected area managers. We have prepared a catalog of biodiversity protection management tools that is published in various languages, in English, French, Arabic at the moment, and some of the tools are addressing the issue of marine litter. So I invite you to download it. We have digital versions, but also printed versions for those of you that might be interested. The idea of this catalog is to provide different types of tools, not only to fight marine litter, but also geospatial tools or quality monitoring tools. We've divided it in 3 types. So you have monitoring tools, management tools, and geospatial tools. And we plan to add some more as they're identified and delivered by our projects. Again, building on all these materials, we participate in other external events, and we try to showcase the good work being implemented by all these actors. Thank you. Next slide, please. MedBioliter, I just mentioned earlier, is one of the key components that we have in our project, and I want to address all the research community that is present here today to please point us to the latest articles you might have published on the impacts of marine litter and biodiversity, so we can add it to our database. The purpose of this database is so it's open access for everybody, and it has a certain interaction component that helps you see the trends in research, but also have access to the actual science and the author's work. to have more impact. So it's a window of exposure to the research data that you managed to achieve. Thank you. Next slide, please. This is just a review of the main impacts that have been recorded in our MedBioLiter database. As you can see, ingestion, so eating litter, is the most reported impact so far on marine species. And it varies also depending on which sea compartment we're talking about. This is followed by entanglement. Again, that can cause as well injury and even death in some species. We also have colonization as a vector of introduction of different species and from tiny viruses and bacteria and pathogens to bigger ones that colonize certain surfaces and can travel around the Mediterranean. And then we have other types of impacts and also all the toxicological side to it that is being studied also by some of the projects. I'm sure you will hear more about it later on. Next slide, please. Here again is a recap of a reminder of everybody that we have all a role to play. These are the 9 key recommendations that came out of our EU Green Week workshop on fighting marine pollution, and we asked the participants in the workshop to help us prioritize the topics and the recommendations themselves to see what would be most important to do and counterbalance the impacts of marine litter. You have the results of the voting on the left. So most of us think that we need to tackle unsustainable production and consumption to prevent the litter generation. So that, I suppose, involves ourselves, as we're all consumers at the end of the day. The second one was to involve local stakeholders and civil society. Basically, it's not the responsibility only of public authorities or researchers to provide the right frame and data. You need the involvement of everybody. Again, consumers, producers, all of us, in helping clean and prevent marine litter getting to our seas. And the third one was cross-border cooperation, especially with non-EU countries, knowing that the Mediterranean is a closed sea and the mobile species, but mobile litter as well going around. So we need to be really aware of it. It was followed by cross-sector coordination. Again, it's good that we work together because together we're stronger. So if each of us do our bit, we'll get the farther somehow. And the remaining recommendations were look at the sea-based sources of marine litter, not only fishing, but other, let's say, vectors that can be identified. Work more on better on marine litter data and information. We can see we have the information. What we need now is to act on it and take measures to provide the right knowledge and tools for local managers. Again, today is an example of this effort of trying to reach out to these 3 new marine protected areas to be designated and influence their management plans. With the right tools provided by the projects, give sustainability to the achievements. Everything that we are finding out and learning about needs to be transferred and be there available for those that want to really tackle marine pollution. And finally, refining and improving assessment protocols. In the case of Montenegro, I'm really happy to have heard that these plans for starting the national monitoring again next year with all this newly generated data. Thank you. Next slide, please. And now just to relax a little bit, we're going to listen to a bit of music and we're going to play a video for you. Hope you enjoy. Thanks. Not sure we hear the music. I don't hear it myself.
You are not hearing?
Not the music, no.
Me neither.
Okay, so wait a second, I will show it from here, sorry.
Community brings together.
Okay. Now?
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you.
Perfect.
The Mediterranean Biodiversity Protection Community brings together nature conservation actors and partners across the region. Our community is working together to find the best solutions addressing marine litter and its impact. Scientists are cooperating to increase knowledge on the impacts of marine litter on nature and testing innovative methods for monitoring and addressing it. Studies and their findings are gathered into an online regional database called MedBioLitter, developed through an initiative co-financed by the Interreg Mediterranean program. This scientific evidence will help show governments, policymakers, businesses, and international institutions the need to work together to develop better policies and management actions needed to fight litter on land and at sea. So, what do we know about marine litter and its impacts on Mediterranean biodiversity? Common species and ecological groups such as plankton, commercial fish, large predators, turtles, and cetaceans have all shown to be impacted by marine litter. Species can become entangled in the litter or mistake it for food, causing injury or even death. Microorganisms like bacteria can colonize litter, potentially transporting invasive species. There are other impacts too, like damaging seafloor habitats and disrupting healthy ecosystem functioning with chemicals. We have also learned that very few marine protected area management plans include measures to tackle litter pollution. There is a lack of harmonized monitoring and assessment protocols for marine litter across the region. But we still have lots more to learn. Many areas in the region have not yet been studied, and we still don't fully understand the extent of litter impacts on marine biodiversity and our health. More research and projects need support to fill existing knowledge gaps, particularly across the south and east of the Mediterranean. What else do we recommend? Monitoring protocols and assessments with clearly defined baselines and targets need to be improved and harmonized across the region. Management and monitoring tools need to be shared with the relevant local actors and financial and training support for using them. Better cooperation across countries in the Mediterranean and across different sectors. Local stakeholders and civil society need to be involved and aware of marine litter monitoring, assessments, and preventative measures. And lastly, we must make sure the efforts and achievements of our Mediterranean biodiversity protection community are long-lasting. We must create links with other Mediterranean-wide knowledge platforms on marine litter to ensure that all knowledge and experiences can be maintained long-term. The urgent fight against marine litter concerns us all. You can make a difference. Start by showing your support. Sign our ecosystem-based approaches declaration.
Thank you very much, Sonsoles, for the presentation and for the video. It's really nice. Maybe just to repeat your invitation for everyone who did not yet, who has not yet done so, to sign the declaration. Thanks a lot. I suggest that we proceed with the agenda, and maybe we will have a few minutes before the coffee break for some questions. If not, we will have a dedicated session. Thanks again. So next presentation is by Thomais, Advancing Marine Litter Monitoring in the Mediterranean, the Plastic Busters MPA monitoring approach to assess the presence and effects of marine litter. Thomais, welcome to our training. As you know, we are very glad to have you with us. Please, you have the floor.
Dobro jutro, dragi prijatelji. I hope I got it right.
Great,
Such a great pleasure to be here with you, really. It is so, I'm almost emotional right now. Okay, first of all, these opening remarks of yours and Milica, really, I almost was in tears. But it's also so nice to see you again and have this concrete opportunity to work, to collaborate. Plus, I'm so proud that with the progress that Montenegro, Crna Gora has made in terms of marine litter, I remember back in 2013 how little it was known about the extent and the magnitude of the problem. And now I see with the results that Milica presented and also Marina, nice to see Marina as well, how much has been achieved. And not to mention, I'm also proud of creating the MPA in Platamuni and the 2 more to come. It's going to be really something amazing in terms of protecting our common natural heritage. And I will now take you on a small tour to the Plastic Busters MPAs project. Allow me to share my screen and just a second. And you should be seeing it, right? Okay.
Right, perfect.
Okay. So, yeah. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Thomais Vlachogianni. I am a senior program and policy officer at the Mediterranean Information Office for Environment, Culture and Sustainable Development. This is a federation of 133 NGOs from all over the Mediterranean. And we have been working for more than 20 years on the issue of marine litter on the science policy society interface. And today I will be with this intervention, because I have some other intervention later on in the next session. I will be focusing on the Interreg Med Plastic Busters MPAs project. And this is a project that addresses the entire management cycle of marine litter, from monitoring and assessment to prevention and mitigation. And this is perhaps one of the very first projects of the kind that explicitly focuses on marine protected areas, trying to understand the extent of the problem, perform harmonized monitoring, diagnose the impacts, identify marine litter hotspots through a modeling related activity, showcase prevention and mitigation measures, and build the capacities of the relevant actors in order at the end of the day to implement a joint governance plan for combating marine litter in MPAs. And one of the major, let's say, elements of this initiative of this project is that it's actually implemented within the context of a broader initiative. This is the Union for the Mediterranean labeled Plastic Busters initiative that has been agreed by the 43 Euro-Mediterranean countries in terms of providing the framework for coordinated actions in the region. So I think that also following what we saw in the little video just a few moments ago, that a lot of steps have been made due to the Barcelona Convention, but also within the context of the Union for the Mediterranean and, of course, the European Union in terms of coordinating and harmonizing approaches in the region against marine litter. So regarding the Plastic Busters MPAs, just briefly, this is a rather large-scale project of a duration of 4 years. It is being coordinated by ISPRA, and the scientific coordinator is the University of Siena, and you may know her. Cristina Fossi is our scientific coordinator. She's a well-known scientist studying the presence and impacts of marine litter in the Mediterranean. And we are a rather large partnership of 15 implementing partners and 17 associated partners. But one of the, I would say, key elements of the partnership has to do with the fact that we have on board the Ministry of Croatia, of Albania, of Greece, in order to ensure the institutional uptake of the project's results. So the key legislative frameworks that sort of provide the context for our actions is the Marine Strategy Framework Directive, the Plastic Strategy, and the Single-Use Plastics Directive. And within the Barcelona Convention system, the ecosystem approach, and the Regional Plan for Marine Litter Management in the Mediterranean, which is currently being upgraded. And one of the, let's say, innovative elements of the Plastic Busters MPAs monitoring approach has to do with the adoption of the recently launched joint list of litter categories for marine macro litter monitoring. And actually, this is one question for Milica later on, whether you have considered this joint list in the collection of your data or even in the interpretation of the data, because this list, apart from the fact that it provides a higher level of detail for recording litter items and a higher level of consistency, it also, through its structure, allows for the backtracking of the sources of the human-induced activities that generate litter. So, for example, the different litter items is something that we had attempted within the DeFishGear project, but now within the technical group of marine litter monitoring at the European level, we have taken it a step further. We have associated the majority of the litter items with human-induced activities. So items that are connected to aquaculture activity, fishing activities, agriculture-related activities, etc., etc. So I would like to know a little bit more about that after I finish my presentation. And another important element is the European threshold value that was mentioned also by Milica. This is a groundbreaking development at pan-European level because there is no other similar threshold value anywhere in the world. And this has been adopted by all European member states. And hopefully we will see also the threshold value that has been proposed at the Mediterranean level to be adopted, because it will be a very powerful driving force in terms of implementing measures on the ground. And obviously I understand initially when Milica said that the situation on the ground doesn't look so good for Montenegro, I was like a little bit alarmed. And I was thinking, what's going on? But then when seeing the figures and the densities, for example, for beach macro litter, I realized that indeed almost 500 items per 100 meter stretch in order to achieve the 20 litter items per 100 meter stretch, which is the good environmental status, requires a lot of, I would say, bold moves. So, and I really hope to see this happening on the ground. So now going to the Plastic Busters MPAs, a more specific approach. So the idea of the project is to carry out a harmonized diagnosis of the problem in Mediterranean MPAs. So obviously we are building upon the DeFishGear approach, which was a pioneer project, and it was also acknowledged as a best practice project by the contracting parties of the Barcelona Convention. And in addition to the standard, let's say, monitoring of macro and micro litter on the beach, on the sea surface, on the sea floor, and in biota, in order to generate fit for purpose, comparable data and reliable data, the project is going one step further. And this is one of the main novelties of the project, that is trying to assess the effects of marine litter on biota. Because it's one thing talking about the detection of marine litter, and in particular plastics in biota. Okay, the presence is one thing, but the presence doesn't really document that there is an actual impact in the proper functioning of the marine organism. So this requires additional research, additional effort in order to understand to which extent the litter items that have been ingested have an impact in the health of the marine organism at individual level, at community level, at ecosystem level, etc. So basically what the Plastic Busters is doing is that in addition to assessing the presence of macro and micro litter or macro and microplastics, is also focusing on the detection of plastic tracers. So basically additives that are included in plastics, and such as phthalates and other chemicals, and also in the detection of effects at the molecular, at the cellular, and at tissue level. So in order to understand to which extent the different species have been affected. Obviously, this kind of work, you know, when the novelty of an approach is increasing, also the complexity is increasing, and also the necessary capacities to implement such comprehensive and elaborate responses increase. However, we believe that it's of a strong added value, in particular within the context of marine protected areas, to have a better idea to which extent the different species have been affected by the presence of marine litter. And this is what we call the threefold marine litter monitoring approach. I'm not sure whether you have heard of it, but this is quite known in the little marine litter circles of the Mediterranean dealing with marine litter monitoring and assessment. So when it comes to the investigated species, we have been focusing on endangered species such as sea turtles, monk seals, cetaceans, but also some species of birds. But also emphasis is on commercial species, different types of commercial species such as invertebrates like Mytilus caloprovincialis, and other vertebrate species such as fishes that have been actually defined, take into consideration different criteria, so habitat and home range criteria, but also ecological and biological criteria in order to define this bioindicator species. The study areas of the project, the pilot areas I would call them, are the Tuscan Archipelago National Park, the National Marine Park of Zakynthos, the Cabrera Archipelago National Maritime Park, and the Pelago Sanctuary. And however, within the transferring activities of the project, we have brought on board additional MPAs like the MPA of Capo Milazzo, and we would be really thrilled perhaps to bring on board within the transferring phase the new Platamuni MPA. So see that as an opportunity for you to start some similar work on the ground and to benefit either from the monitoring and assessment approaches of the project, but also from the prevention and mitigation actions that I will showcase later on. And so where are we now when it comes to the project? In fact, we are at the stage where we have collected over 1.5 years of data sets. And we're at the stage of elaborating the comprehensive diagnosis of the marine litter problem in the MPAs. And this will be shortly published, and I will ask Sonsoles, once it's published, to share it within this group. Of course, as I said, the project addresses the entire management cycle of marine litter. So we have been implementing prevention and mitigation actions. 2 of them have been completed, and you're going to hear from a colleague of mine later on about one of these actions, and some more are on the pipeline. And it would be really nice to have an action in Montenegro taking place, so we can talk at the bilateral phase later on. And of course, we have been focusing a lot of our time on training managers of marine protected areas. And in fact, in October, we are planning to have a capacity building workshop. It's going to be hands-on, and the majority of the time is going to be spent on the field, mainly on water, in Dubrovnik. So this would be a wonderful opportunity, at least some participants from Cerna Gora to be able to join this very, very interesting capacity building activity. And when it comes to the lessons learned so far, actually, I have used the lessons learned from one of the partner MPAs in the project. And basically, from the Zakynthos MPA in Greece, one of the major lessons learned has to do with the fact that this kind of approach allowed them to gain significant knowledge on the magnitude of the problem. It increased the capacity of the parks to monitor and assess the problem in terms of know-how, manpower, and equipment. It enabled them to design and operationalize tailor-made mitigation actions. And also it concretely illustrated how the efforts of MPA managers when joining with the researchers can achieve what they can achieve on the ground. Because obviously, as I said, the very specialized monitoring activities that focus on either investigating the presence, for example, of microplastics, ingested microplastics, but also in assessing the different plasticizers and the different effects, for example, the oxidative stress induced by microplastics. This requires, obviously, very special skills. And maybe it's not for the daily routine of an MPA manager, but it's important, perhaps with the help of the Institute of Biology of Montenegro, to try and gain a better idea of the actual impacts on the species. So this was more or less my intervention, and I would like to thank you for your attention. Obviously, you can find a whole lot more about the project's approaches on the website, and you can also follow us on social media. But in addition to the workshop that I just mentioned in Croatia, where we are gonna send additional information in the coming weeks, this is gonna take place in the first half of October. I would like also to draw your attention to the fact that very soon we are gonna create an e-learning module on marine litter monitoring and assessment for all the let's say, more standard approaches that have been refined throughout our project, but throughout also many other projects. And in fact, at the European level, at this very moment in time, we are about, because I'm a member of the technical group on marine litter, we are about to launch the updated guidelines and guidance on monitoring marine litter. So this will be one aspect of the monitoring module, but also on operationalizing measures. So I think that these two tools or toolkits might prove to be very useful for your scope of work. So this was it from me for now, and I would be happy to answer to any questions. But before, Milica maybe can answer to my question.
Thank you very much. Yes, maybe Milica can answer, and then we go to coffee break if there are no other questions, or maybe we can have a discussion a bit later on. Milica.
Thank you, Tommy. Yes, we are working a lot, and thank you. I think that now we have a very good database related to the marine litter issue. What we miss is definitely analysis of marine litter in biota. That is something that we started during the DeFishGear project, but unfortunately we didn't continue with that kind of research activities due to the lack of funds for that kind of research. But we are trying in the frame of this new IPA project of the ministry to start with, not to start, but to continue with the same work. Also what we miss and what we never done, although in the frame of the DeFishGear, is analysis of microplastic in the water column. And we will be very happy to start with that kind of investigation. And that is something that we already inserted in the national monitoring program of Montenegro. And I hope that IVANA will push that part in the national monitoring program, I hope from the next year. So we are very open to any kind of cooperation. As you know, we now have a good team of people that are working on marine litter issues. So I hope that we can see also in Dubrovnik, of course, during your next meeting. And we can also discuss about all activities that can be done together. We need to work on at least regional level, as all of you knows. And another thing that I want to note or to stress, the amount of almost 500 litter items in Montenegrin beaches are items with included cigarette butts and filters. But as you know, from threshold values on the European level excluded those items from the calculation. So 20 is without cigarette butt and filter. So we are a little bit above this 500, but on the Mediterranean level, 57 items of which liter per 100 meter is with included cigarette butts. So anyway, we are much above the proposed threshold values, and we need to work urgently on the measures and solutions.
Nice to hear that, and I will be happy to contribute in any way that I can. And I hope very soon that I will be able also to visit you once all this craziness stops. Yes, I think that the Montenegrins are one of the most hospitable people in the world. So I enjoy every time visiting you, and I hope this will happen very, very soon. So yeah, thank you, Milica.
Thank you.
Any other question?
We don't have any questions in the chat either, so maybe we can go for the coffee break or the MedBioliter tour and then coffee break.
May I ask a question? One small question. I was wondering whether you have engaged yourselves in monitoring riverine litter, and whether, for example, you have any intentions of doing something like that in Buna Bojana. There used to be once upon a time a plan to survey this river. I don't know, I was very fixed on this idea, simply because I believe that also the river may be contributing quite a lot, at least in the litter items that you find in the seafloor, for example. So I don't know, are there any plans to do something about that?
Well, to my knowledge, something like that has not been done by now as part of the, especially part of the regular monitoring. Maybe there are some project data. There are some plans and projects, you know, planning something like that. But for now, I cannot tell you for sure, because it's something that we need to, you know, agree upon also with the other ministry. But it is a good idea. We know how much the impact of the rivers on the seas are. So yeah, it's something that we still need to discuss maybe and see how to implement.
If I can, just a few sentences. What I know is that there was a project, GEF, IVANA maybe knows better, funded by GEF, and Montenegro is part of that project. We have several meetings with coordinators of the project on the very beginning when they were deciding what they are going to monitor, and we proposed that kind of monitoring. Unfortunately, we were not included as partners in the project, but what I know is that the plan was to monitor the riverine inputs in Buna and also in Bosnia and Herzegovina. So that was the, in Buna, some part between Albania and Montenegro as one point, and in Bosnia and Herzegovina. I don't know if they get some results or data, but I think that they should have something. They should have at least something there.
Great, thank you. I think that it would be important, because this can be also a powerful tool for you to raise awareness upstream, because it's not just a litter deposited in situ, but it's also has been carried by other areas. Great. So I think we can kind of go for break now. I will not delay the break.
Yes, no, don't worry. Just to say, for this project, we are aware of some of the activities, but we have not received, you know, results. I will ask about it. I'm not sure that in the end they implemented that, but it's true that especially they wanted to somehow focus on the monitoring, especially at the source. So yeah, we will check and let you know. So let's go for the MedBioliter tour and coffee break. If everyone agrees, we reconvene at 11:15. Is that okay?
Okay, hi everyone. Good morning and welcome to this short tour on MIO-ECSDE. I'm sorry you cannot see me because I have a problem with my webcam. I'm not sure why, but as long as you can see my screen, I think we are fine. Okay, I guess you are seeing my screen now. So let me introduce myself. I'm Antonio Sanchez. I'm part of the MVPC project. And among many other things, I'm currently the main manager of MIO-ECSDE database. For those unfamiliar with MIO-ECSDE, it collects data from scientific articles on interactions between marine litter and biodiversity. So what you are seeing on this map are therefore records where these interactions have been studied. So if you click in this button here, you will see the map legend, and as you see, these dots correspond to different types of interactions between litter and marine species. So they have 4 categories, being ingestion, colonization, entanglement, and others. The latter is a category for interactions that are less frequent or that are specific to certain marine species. For example, the breaking or crashing of corals by heavy objects. In addition, you see we have different marine protections instruments or mechanisms as national MPAs or Natura 2000 sites. In the next button, you can activate or deactivate the layers. So, for example, you can hide the marine protected areas to have a cleaner map. Then you can activate them again, so you can customize the look of your map. This next button is the base map configuration, so you can change the background of the map. So you can choose the one you like the most or the one that offers information of your interest. For example, you can check bathymetry, or for example, the satellite imagery. So to the yes, okay. So if you can zooming out, in out, you can drag and move the map. And if you click in any of the dots or the polygons, you will extract you will get the information inside that point. For example, this one corresponds to a sample of sardine. So here you can see the different fields of the database. So you see the interaction type, ingestion, the species name, whether or not it is included in the IUCN Red List, the trophic level, the number of specimens studied, the percentage affected by marine litter, and of course you can see the reference of the scientific article. So you see the authors, GR, title, and of course you also have the link to visit the paper. To the left side, you see these numbers, which are called indicators, and what they do is account for the total number of records visible in the map. So now we have 754 records from 107 papers, and they cover 158 species. Then you have all these graphics that they summarize the different statistics of the record. So you can see that by interaction type, the most frequent one is ingestion, that it's almost half the records we have, followed by entanglement and colonization. You can also check if whether or not the interactions are in pelagic or benthic habitats, which are the water column or the seabed, respectively. Whether or not the interactions occur within marine protected areas. You can also see the number of records by year, or here in this tab, the number of papers. You will see that in the top right, you will see this small icon, and if you click it, you will make a full screen, any of the boxes you have. So regarding the articles by year, it's quite interesting that it's a really new topic for scientists, as from more or less 2012, 2013, it really was an explosion of papers and information on marine litter in the Mediterranean Sea. You can also check records by species or taxonomic groups. So most of the records correspond to nidarians, which in this case are mainly corals species, but there are many records on fishes and reptiles and crustaceans and mammals. And we have also another tab with the data according to the IUCN red list categories. And another one is this tab below the map, where you have all the articles included in the database. So this looks nice, but it gets better when you interact with the different graphics and the filters we have. For example, let's say you want to check the data in the Adriatic Sea. So you can go here to Mediterranean ecoregions and click in the Adriatic Sea. And then your map will be updated, showing only the records inside the Adriatic Sea ecoregion. So this number in the indicators are updated. So here you have only 60 records from 18 peer-reviewed articles and 25 species. So let's say you are only interested in ingestion records, so you can click in the graphic for ingestions. So now you only see these records. And let's say you are only interested in mammals, so you click in mammals, and again the map is updated. So now you can look for example, of this dot in Croatia, but very close to Montenegro. So you see it's a Cuvier's beaked whale. And then you can go to the article list, and you will see that the list is also updated. So here you have the 4 articles and the 8 records. And then you can check the reference and the link to go to these papers and extract more information if needed. Then you can deactivate, clicking again in the filters, you will deactivate and restore the map. That's all from my side. These are the main features of this interactive viewer. We will share the link through the chat in case you want to visit it. My colleague Sonsoles also included the link in her presentation. In case you need help, you have this need help button. So if you click here, you will see I don't know if you can see it. Yes, it's loading. You will see this short tutorial with the main controls and the main features I covered in this short tour. So thank you for your attention, and enjoy the rest of the meeting.